Have you ever thought how sometimes a person's own mind, their twisted thoughts, or imaginary fears can lead them to commit something so horrifying, even if it means harming their own family? Fear of social judgment can make people freeze, or push them to cross every moral line. Today's crime story is a perfect example of that, and the speed and precision with which law enforcement cracked the case is truly commendable. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Today's case comes from India, more specifically, from a city called Cruelty, located in Thane district, part of the Greater Mumbai region. It was the early hours of December 8, 2019, just before sunrise, when an unsettling scene unfolded near the Cruelty railway station. A man, seemingly ordinary, stepped out of the station dragging a large, heavy black duffel bag. As he exited, several auto rickshaw drivers were waiting for passengers. The man approached one of them and asked if he could take him to an area called Gawala Naka. The driver's name was Khalid Momin, and although he agreed initially, something didn't sit right. There was a terrible stench coming from the bag. Curious and a bit disturbed, Khalid asked the man what was inside. The man casually said, "Just some old rotten vegetables. I'll throw them away on the way." Still, the smell was unbearable. Khalid refused the ride, and the man moved on to ask another driver, leaving the bag temporarily near Khalid's vehicle. Now Khalid grew suspicious. He noticed the bag looked brand new. So why would anyone carry rotting vegetables in it? A burlap sack would have made more sense. The man was now trying to convince other drivers, but the odor from the bag was so intense that no one was willing to help him. Finally, one auto driver hesitantly agreed, but only after the man offered double the normal fare. That raised even more red flags. Why was this man in such a hurry? Why was he so desperate? Watching all this, Khalid couldn't shake off the growing sense of alarm. The man seemed tense. The bag had a stench like raw meat from a butcher's shop. He demanded the man open the bag right there. "If it's really vegetables, show us. I'll even take you myself," Khalid said. Hearing this, the man visibly panicked. Khalid threatened to call the police. The man arrogantly replied that his brother was a cop and said, "Call whoever you want." But as soon as Khalid pulled out his phone and started dialing, the man dropped the bag and bolted back toward the railway station, disappearing into the crowd. Several auto drivers shouted after him, but he didn't stop. Realizing something was seriously wrong, they immediately called the police. Officers from the local Mahatma Fuel police station responded quickly. When they opened the bag in front of the witnesses, what they found was nothing short of a nightmare. Inside was a mutilated human body, or rather, part of one. It was the lower half, with no head, no torso, just from the waist down. It was a woman. Her remains were immediately sent to a hospital for examination. But identifying her was going to be extremely difficult. There was no face, no hands, and no fingerprint to go by. The body appeared to have been cut using a jagged, blunt tool, not something sharp like a knife. The cuts were rough, with uneven edges. The discovery sent shockwaves through the police force. A murder case was registered against an unknown individual, and an intensive investigation began. The first step, interview the auto drivers. Khalid and others described the man, red shirt, khaki pants, and a white cloth wrapped around his head. The case was now handed over to both the local police and the crime branch. Their next move was crucial. Check every CCTV camera near the Cruelty railway station. The footage from that early morning could reveal who the man was and where he went. Have you ever thought that sometimes it's not just crime or cruelty, but a person's mindset and fears that lead them to commit the unthinkable, even if it means harming someone from their own family? Social pressure can make some people freeze, while others take steps so extreme, they are no longer fit to be part of society. Today's story is one such chilling case. Police were working on a disturbing case involving a human body found in pieces. Investigators had a partial lead. A middle-aged man wearing a red shirt and khaki pants was spotted. They began scanning CCTV footage from every platform at the local train station. After a thorough search, they finally spotted him. But something unexpected appeared too. He wasn't alone. Another man was walking alongside him, and both were carrying the same bag in which part of the body was found. The pair was seen exiting the station together. This raised a serious question. Were these two the killers, trying to dispose of the body early in the morning? At the hospital, doctors told police that judging by the state of the body and the blood loss, the murder had likely happened 2 or 3 days earlier. They estimated the victim was a young woman, probably between 20 to 25 years old. Back to the footage, witnesses, including auto rickshaw drivers, recalled only one of the two men approaching them, not both. That helped narrow things down. One driver, colored, even recognized the man in the red shirt. He confirmed that the same man had exited a train at Kulyon Station carrying the suspicious bag. CCTV showed the man hurrying inside the station around 5:30 a.m. He entered a restroom, changed his red shirt for a different one, likely to avoid being recognized, but kept the same khaki pants. It was enough for police to still identify him on later footage. Now the question was, who was this man, and where had he come from? The timestamp from the footage showed him leaving the station at exactly 4:57 a.m. So police cross-referenced train arrival times to identify which trains had arrived at that time. Investigators even visited other stations along possible train routes, checking footage for any sightings of the man. It was a labor-intensive process, but necessary to crack the case. Since the body belonged to a woman and had been dumped days earlier, officers activated their local informants and community contacts, asking if anyone knew of a missing woman or someone who hadn't been seen for days. Only part of the body had been recovered, so finding the rest, and the killer, was urgent. Eventually, a breakthrough came. At another station about 125 kilometers away, Titwala Station, footage from around 4 a.m. showed the same man in the red shirt, now alone, carrying a heavy black bag. Since he was walking with such a big load, the police assumed he must have taken some kind of transport. They questioned all local auto rickshaw drivers near the station during that time, and showed them the suspect's image from the footage. While his face wasn't clearly visible, his clothing and build were distinct. One of the drivers came forward. He remembered picking up the man, who had trouble lifting the bag into the auto. The driver even helped him load it. The man had been picked up from a place called Indiranagar, on the eastern side of Titwala. Acting on this lead, officers arrived in that locality. While canvassing the area, a constable named Sanjay Baba received a tip-off from an informant. The suspect they were looking for reportedly lived in a place called Sai Krupachol. As they investigated further, they found a young girl, a student in 6th grade. She lived in that very chol. Police showed her the image and asked if she recognized the man. Despite the unclear face, she recognized him from his clothes and hairstyle. "That looks like Evan's uncle," she said. She even gave them his apartment number. When the police reached the apartment, it was locked. That was a setback. After coming so far, it seemed like the man had vanished. Still, they questioned neighbors and showed them the photo. People confirmed his name, Evan Tiwari. He was 47 years old and worked as a manager at a transportation company in Malad named Pawanhan's Logistics. Then came another critical detail. Neighbors told police that Evan had a daughter, but no one had seen her for a couple of days. Usually, she was very visible around the neighborhood. That raised even more alarms. Could it be that the body parts found in the bags belonged to his own daughter? The pieces were finally starting to come together, but what police would uncover next was darker than anyone could have imagined. The police were tipped off after they found a suspicious bag at a busy train station. Security footage led them to a man named Evan Tiwari, who worked at a transportation company. When questioned, his nervous behavior raised red flags. Initially, he tried to brush off the suspicion, saying his daughter had gone back to their village. But when officers showed him CCTV footage of him carrying the same suspicious bag, the truth began to surface. Evan broke down and confessed. The girl in question was his own 22-year-old daughter, Princy Tiwari. Originally from Jaunpur in Uttar Pradesh, Evan had moved to Mumbai in 2016 for work, leaving his wife and 4 daughters behind in the village. Eventually, his eldest daughter, Princy, moved to Mumbai as well, after finishing college, hoping to support the family financially. She found a job at a private firm in a nearby city and was determined to help her father. Eventually, her father also brought his other daughters to Mumbai, but due to financial constraints, he sent them back to the village to continue their studies. During her time in the city, Princy fell in love with a co-worker. He had a stable job and was well educated. The two wanted to get married, but when she told her father about it, he was furious. The man belonged to a different caste, and for Evan, a man stuck in traditional values, this was unacceptable. He believed that such a marriage would bring shame to the family and create obstacles in marrying off his other daughters. Arguments between father and daughter became frequent. One night, after a heated fight, Princey either consumed or was given rat poison. Oven claimed she took it herself out of frustration, but the police believe he might have mixed it into her food. Shockingly, he did not take her to a hospital. She remained unconscious the entire night. The next day, Oven purchased 2 large bags and a handsaw. What happened next was horrifying. He dismembered his unconscious daughter's body into 3 parts, placing them into separate bags. That night, he disposed of 1 bag in a nearby river. With the second bag, he boarded a train to a different city, planning to dump it in another water body. A fellow passenger offered to help him carry the heavy bag, unaware of its contents. This gesture of kindness later led the police to the helpful bystander, who was eventually cleared of suspicion after providing a full account of events. Within 36 hours, the police had cracked the case. They arrested Irvind and began the search for the remaining body parts. The head and upper torso were found days later, floating 8 kilometers downstream from the first dump site. The murder weapon, a saw, was recovered from Irvind's residence. DNA testing confirmed the remains were indeed Prince's. Irvind is now behind bars and awaiting trial for the brutal murder of his daughter, all because she dared to love someone from a different caste. This case highlights the tragic consequences of rigid societal beliefs and outdated honor systems. A young life was lost, not at the hands of a stranger, but by her own blood. If this story shocked you, please share it. Let's talk about these issues. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon for more real-life stories that the world needs to hear. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.